Okay, now children, today we are going to start the story A Face in the Dark. We are going to revise it. Since all of you must have done the story in your class 9, we will quickly go through the story and see what is there in the story. First of all, let me tell you that paranormal or supernatural element, that is the ghost element, it has its root in our Indian society. It is not something which is there in the story. Rather, when we read the story, we feel that it is something which is related to our childhood, which is related to our own culture. When we were small as kids, we have come across the fact that our grandmothers, our grandparents, they used to tell us stories which were related to ghosts or ghost stories, we were told. And there are so many things in society which we relate to and which we call as supernatural or paranormal. Paranormal means something which is not natural. So whatever is there in the story is something which is supernatural or paranormal. And in the story, it is not proved that whatever Mr. Oliver, who is the central character of the story, came across, that is the faces that he came across, were they actually true or not? Because the story ends as soon as the lantern that the watchman was holding blows out. Just then the story ends. So in the story it is not proved that whether such elements exist or not. But Ruskin Bond, through this story, has tried to bring before the readers the Indian culture that is there in all of us. That is, we are made to think that whether those faces really existed or not, whether they were there or not, or is it just the imagination, just the fascination. All of us, when we recall about ghost stories, when we recall about some horror incident, and when we try to relate, we have not actually been in that position. We are not actually sure of any existence of any ghost or any supernatural element. But because of the society in which we live, because of the upbringing, because of our you can say elders at home, we are forced to believe in such things. Even if such thing is not there in society, then even if such thing is not there in the environment, then also we are forced to think over it, just because of the culture that we have in our country. That is, we are made to believe that ghosts or supernatural elements, they exist in the society. Similarly, in this story as well, Ruskin Bond, through the story, has made us rethink that whether actually these elements exist in society or not. Or in a way we can say that the ending of the story has given it an open ending. Open ending means we are given chance to speculate, to form our own opinion. Because some of you might say that it was just the imagination, it was just the fascination that was there in Mr. Oliver's mind, that certain things happen at the later part of the day, that is towards the night. That is why he might have felt that the boy didn't have the face, and that is why he might have felt that the watchman also didn't have any proper face structure. But at the same time, some of you might argue that because our society believes in the existence of such elements, that is why we should say that those two people, that is the boy and the watchman, they didn't have proper face structure, and that is what frightened Mr. Oliver. Okay. Is this much clear? This is a theme on which the story is based, that is the supernatural or the paranormal theme, that is the existence of ghost or unnatural elements in the society. The theme of the story deals with existence of ghosts or paranormal. Paranormal means something which is not normal. paranormal element in our society. Is this much clear to all of you? Students attending online, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now let us move to the original text, A Face in the Dark, page number 73. First of all, talking about Ruskin Bond, he is one of the most widely read authors among the Indian authors. He is one of the most widely read and very fond among children. His fondness, we can read many of his stories, many of his work is available for children, and it is even included in the school curriculum. And that is why the stories that Ruskin Bond write, they are mostly connected to the Indian culture. In his story, the background is always of Indian culture. Similarly, in this story as well, we have come across the fact that he has somehow depicted, through the story, he has somehow depicted what is present in Indian culture. Okay? Is this much clear? Now, Ruskin Bond, an Indian author of British descent means he was someone who migrated from British and settled in India. That is why in his stories there are reflections of Indian culture. Is a prolific writer whose works are popular with adults and children alike. Prolific means one of the most widely read or one of the most acknowledged writers whose work is mostly read by children and adults as well. In the following story, writer Ruskin Bond relates a thrilling incident set among the picturesque hills around Shimla. Ruskin Bond's fascination with the paranormal finds expression in the macabre tale. Mr. Oliver, a school teacher, is on his way back to school late one night when he meets a strange young boy. The encounter fills him with terror and he takes to his heels only to discover that there is no escape from him. Ruskin Bond makes skillful use of elements of a horror story, that is fear, surprise, suspense and mystery, to explore humanity's collective fascination with the dark. Now in the story, Ruskin Bond has tried to introduce before us the elements of mystery, that is the horror elements, several elements combined together to form a horror scene. That is what Ruskin Bond has tried to combine together. He has tried to combine mystery. Mystery means when reality is unknown, when we are not able to reach to reality. In the story, we are not able to reach to reality because the story ends abruptly. So mystery is there, then horror is there, then fear is there. Fear of what? Fear of witnessing something which was unusual. That is, Mr. Oliver witnessed something which was not usual, which was paranormal, which was nothing, which was supernatural, and surprise was there. That is, Mr. Oliver was surprised to come across such a human being who didn't have a proper face structure. And then mystery is there, as I told you, that is, we are not able to make out, we are not able to come to terms with the reality. That is what was actually the truth, whether they were people without faces or it was just the fascination or imagination of Mr. Oliver. Just as we imagine at night, sometimes you might have noticed that sometimes on the walls as well, when this polished walls of the wall, sometimes structures are formed on the wall, and when you view that structure, you start interpreting that structure. Sometimes you might feel that there are two boys who are standing. Sometimes you might feel that it is a butterfly, or structures are formed. Similarly, whenever we form mental structures in our mind, and when we encounter such situations, we start relating to it, because you must have heard ghost stories at home from your grandparents, or even from elders at home. So you might be afraid to walk out in the dark, to go to another room alone at night, because you are scared of darkness. You are made to believe that there is something that exists, even if such thing is not there. You might go and you might feel that yes, there is a knock, there's someone is knocking on the door. There might not be anyone. It is just the imagination, just the fascination. It might just have been the fascination that might have affected Mr. Oliver, and he might have behaved in such a way because of the fascination that was there in his mind. Okay? It is a short story. We will finish it in a day itself. A Face in the Dark, Ruskin Bond, page number 74. Mr. Oliver, an Anglo-Indian teacher, was returning to the school one night on the outskirts of the hill station of Simla. From before Kipling's time, the school had been run on English public school lines. Kipling's means, here he has talked about the writer Rudyard Kipling. So Ruskin Bond was one of the writers who was very much influenced by Rudyard Kipling. That is why he has told that the school in which Mr. Oliver worked, it was based on the idea of Rudyard Kipling, and just like he had proposed a school and public schools were run according to his idea, similarly this school was run on the idea formed by Rudyard Kipling. The school had been, and the boys, most of them from wealthy Indian families, wore blazers, caps and ties. Now it is being reflected here how the school was run, the life of the students and the gentry which came to the school. It is reflected that they came from very healthy background, and most of them, and it was evident in their dressing as well, because most of them, they wore blazers, caps and ties. Life magazine is a feature on India had once called it the Eton of the East. Eton of the East means it is one of the magazines has called this place Simla, this school at Simla, as Eton of the East. Mr. Oliver has been teaching in the school for 7 years, and Mr. Oliver, who is the central character of the story, was a part of the school teaching faculty for past 7 years. The Simla Bazaar with its cinemas and restaurants were about 3 miles from the school, and Mr. Oliver, a bachelor, usually strolled into the town in the evening, returning after dark, when he would take a shortcut through the pine forest. Now it is narrated how the city of Simla was planned. That is, Simla Bazaar was there with its cinemas and restaurants, and it was about 3 miles away from the school. And Mr. Oliver, who was a teacher at the school, public school, English public school, which was there at Simla, which was 3 miles away from the township, was a bachelor. He was not a married man. He was a bachelor, and he usually used to visit the bazaar in the evening, returning after dark. And he used to return from the bazaar when it grew darker at night, when he would take a shortcut through the pine forest. And in the path that he took while returning to the school later in the evening towards the night was the shortcut through the pine forest. When there was a strong wind, the pine trees made sad resound that kept most people to the main road. but he was a very daring man, as it has been reflected here in these lines, that he was a very daring man, because at night when wind blows, the trees they wave and they produce a very really different, unusual sound. So people were scared of such a sound, and most of them they followed the normal path, that is the road path, to reach to school. But Mr. Oliver, he was a daring man, because he took a path which was which was full of horror, which was somewhat different. ERRIE means eerie, which means a different, unusual sound. So he was not scared. That is why he took the route of the pine forest, where the sound was very unusual, because of the wind that blew and because of the trees that shook from one side to the other. But Mr. Oliver was not a nervous or imaginative man. Like I told you that he was a very courageous man, and it has been mentioned in these lines as well, that Mr. Oliver was not at all nervous man. He was very confident, and he was not at all imaginative as well. He carried a torch, and its gleam, the batteries were running down, moved fitfully down the narrow forest path. When its flickering light fell in the figure of a boy who was sitting alone on a rock, Mr. Oliver stopped. He was not an imaginative man, neither he was nervous. So while he was walking towards the school, on that path on that path itself, in the pine forest path, he found the torch that he carried along with him. Its light fell on the boy who was sitting at the corner of the road, and he was weeping. So Mr. Oliver tries to find out what was he doing. Boys were not supposed to be out after dark, but at that time of the day, that is, it was late night, and at that time of the day it was unusual, it was unexpected that the boy was sitting at the corner of the road and he was weeping, because they were not permitted to be out of their houses at that time of the day. What are you doing out here, boy? Asked Mr. Oliver sharply, moving closer so that he could recognize the miscreant. Mr. Oliver thought that he might have been any of his student who was sitting there. So he went closer to the boy so that he could see who it was who had created the nuisance. Okay. But even as he approached the boy, Mr. Oliver sensed that something was wrong. As he was going closer to the boy to see who he was, Mr. Oliver could feel that there was something wrong with the boy. Mr. Oliver sensed the boy appeared to be crying. As he moved closer to the boy, he felt that the boy was crying. His head hung down, and his head was down towards the floor. He held his face in his hands, and his body shook convulsively. As he was sitting there crying, he had covered his entire face with his hands, and he was continuously crying, and it gave the impression he was crying because his body was shaking. Convulsively means it was shaking, shivering. It was a strange, soundless weeping, and this weeping, that is the crying that the boy was doing, it was something very strange, something very unusual, and there was no sound at all. It was just the figure of the boy that gave the feeling that the boy was weeping to Mr. Oliver. And Mr. Oliver felt distinctively uneasy. Distinctively means differentially uneasy, differentially restless. Mr. Oliver, when he came across the fact that the boy was weeping in very unusual manner, he felt very uneasy, differently uneasy he felt. Well, what's the matter? He asked, his anger giving way to concern. Now, previously when he came across the fact that the boy was sitting there and he thought that it might have been some boy who might have been his student, and why he was out, he was angry about it. But when he came across the fact that the boy who was sitting there was weeping, he became more concerned. He was very much concerned about the boy, why the boy was weeping, and then he inquired from the boy, what is the reason behind your weeping? Why are you weeping? What are you crying for? What is the reason? What has made you cry? The boy would not answer or look up. The boy did not look up towards Mr. Oliver, neither did he give any answer to Mr. Oliver. His body continued to be racked with silent sobbing. His body continued to be shaking, and he continued sobbing, which was silent. There was no noise at all in his sobbing. Come on, boy, you shouldn't be out here at this hour. Mr. Oliver tells the boy who was weeping that, come on, I'm telling you that you are out of your house at the wrong time of the day. You shouldn't be here at this time of the day. It is not the right time for you to be here, to be at this place where you are at present, that is beside the road. Tell me the trouble. Look up. Tell me the trouble means tell me the trouble means tell me the reason. Why are you troubled? Tell me the reason behind your trouble, behind your worry. You look up and tell me the reason. All this Mr. Oliver is saying to the boy who is sobbing, who is weeping silently. The boy looked up. The boy then looked up when Mr. Oliver insisted on knowing what was the reason behind the boy is weeping. Then the boy looked up. He took his hands from his face and took his hands from his face and looked up at his teacher. The light from Mr. Oliver's torch fell on the boy's face. If you could call it a face. If you could call it a face means Mr. Oliver will say that there was no face. That is why it is written, if you could call it a face. If the person has no proper facial structure, how can you say that a person has face? That is why when the boy removed his hand from the face, and when the light of the torch fell on the boy's face, Mr. Oliver's torch, if you could say it was a face, it had no eyes, ears, nose or mouth. There was no proper facial structure. The boy had no proper facial structure. Neither did he have eyes, neither mouth, nor nose or nor ears. It was just a round, smooth head. It gave the impression as if it was something very smooth with no eyes, ears, nose and mouth. With a school cap on its top, it gave the feeling as if something very plain, something very smooth has been is there, and on the top of which is a school cap, and that's where the story should end, and that is the point where the story should end, where we should end this story. But for Mr. Oliver, it did not end here. But this is the point that the narrator thinks that the story should have ended, but it was not the end of it was not the end of the horror that Mr. Oliver is going to encounter. And now let's see what will happen. The torch fell from his trembling hand. Just when the torch light fell on the boy's face, the torch dropped down from his hand. He could not hold the torch. He turned and scrambled down the path, running blindly through the trees and calling for help. Just as the light fell on the boy's face, he got very much scared, and the torch fell down from his hands, and he started running towards the school. And while he was running, he was continuously crying for help. He was still running towards the school building, where he saw a lantern swinging in the middle of the path. Just as he was running towards the school building, on that path itself, he came across a lantern which was there in the path. Mr. Oliver stumbled up to the watchman, and he thought that it was and it is written that it was a watchman who was holding the lantern. And Mr. Oliver approached towards the watchman who was holding the lantern. Gasping for breath means falling short of breath. After running for a long stretch, after running for some distance, the Mr. Oliver was not able to breathe properly. He became breathless because of the speed in which he was running, because he was so much scared. "What is it, Sahib?" asked the watchman. "Has there been an accident? Why are you running?" The watchman who was holding the lantern inquires from Mr. Oliver. What was the reason that made Mr. Oliver run? Was there any accident because of which Mr. Oliver was running? "I saw something horrible, a boy weeping in the forest, and he had no face." And just when the watchman inquired from Mr. Oliver what was it that made him run, he told the watchman that he came across a boy, he encountered a boy on his way to the school who had no face, and he had no facial structure, and he was weeping. "No face, Sahib. The watchman says that the boy had no face. It was an interrogative sentence. It is an interrogative sentence. No eyes, no nose, no mouth, nothing. Then Mr. Oliver says, "No eyes, no nose, no mouth, nothing. Do you mean it was like this, Sahib?" asked the watchman, and raised the lamp to his own face. And just when Mr. Oliver was trying to come out of the situation that he had encountered, the dreadful situation, the horror situation, just then the watchman who was actually asking Mr. Oliver what had happened brought the lantern closer to his face, and then he told Mr. Oliver that what you had encountered just now, was it something similar to what I am having? See my face. The watchman had no eyes, no ears, no features at all, not even an eyebrow. And that's when the wind blew and the lamp out. And when Mr. Oliver saw the watchman's face, at that very moment itself, the wind blew and the lamp went out. So here we are left with the open ending. That is, we can speculate. It might just have been the imagination of Mr. Oliver that might have made him think that way, or there might have been some element. So it is left to the readers and the writers to speculate and write what they feel there might have been. So this is a story which is dominated by paranormal or supernatural element that is present in the society. Is this much clear to all of you? Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.